got a bidet!
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about something that we haven't talked about in quite a while on the channel, and that is MLB The Show 22. This year, it was the first year that I have actually played every single program, like the main programs that they present, and the other programs, as they call it. That's kind of like the subsection. The main ones go away after a certain amount of time, but then the ones that are labeled other programs, you can play as you progress throughout the year. And so I wanted to give my opinion on how the game has played out this year, some good, some bad, and then my biggest tips and tricks to you, especially if you're a new player to MLB The Show. Just to give a little upfront information, I do not buy and sell and rely on the market to jump players' values. I do not play online with other people hardly at all, because the first, 5 or 10 times that I tried, either people quit or the servers crashed a lot, and so it really turned me away from that. And I don't sink money into the game. I do not put any other money into the game after I purchase the game itself. So of all those things being considered, you kind of have, where my background is on where I'm coming from when I say the different things I say about the game. So let's dive right into it, and I'll tell you what I got to say about this year's game. Okay, so maybe a little bit more background that would help is that I have played since... I played a lot of the ones when they were on PlayStation 3, but as far as PS4, PS5 era, I've also played, I think it was 17, 18, 19, all the way up to today's game. So I've gotten a Platinum trophy on all the games since 17. And what that kind of tells you is, one, I know what kind of player cards have been in the mix during that time period. I know how the game has evolved during that time period, and I can tell you that I've played a decent amount to the point where, if you know about MLB 19 The Show, there is a trophy in there where you have to get to a certain rank in the online matches, and I have played enough to be able to get there as well. So I've played my decent amount of the game, and so here's my first critique of the game. This year's game, if you're new to the game, this isn't throwing shade or anything, but this year's game is a lot easier to unlock cards and whatnot than years past. And how I can actually give you concrete evidence that that is true: in previous games, there were so many challenges that were all-star difficulty and above. This year, I feel like most of them are rookie, veteran difficulty. So when you go to, do these challenges in the other programs or in the main program, just know that this year I feel like they've toned it down a little bit. So if you feel like you're getting super ahead and whatnot, I would watch out for next year's game to see if they kind of up it back to where it used to be, or if they continue this trend. It's good and it's bad at the same time. It's good because it brings more people into the community and shows, you can be successful and earn cards that you actually want without having to throw a ton of money into the game, or no money into the game like myself. And you can be successful. Whereas, in the past, I shied away from a lot of those challenges just because I was like, I don't think I'll have any shot at doing those, so I just avoided them and tried to get the cards I wanted a different way. So it has this interesting balance between the two. I will say, they brought in the Nintendo Switch this year, so maybe that had something to do with it. But my quote unquote harshest opinion about the game is that it's definitely easier this year. A lot of people complain that it's broken. I really don't have that happening to me nearly as much, where I just question different things about the mechanics. I think that's fine, but I will say from an inclusive point of view, I do think this year's game has gotten a bit easier. My next criticism, and this is definitely a complaint, and it's probably the one that makes me question how much I want to play next year's game the most, and that is the new players are not nearly as diverse as I'd like them to be, and I'll explain what I mean by that. What I mean is that, so like in the early on in the year, they'll say, oh, this player is coming to Diamond Dynasty, and a lot of times it is a player that has been in the series for a long time. This happens way more with players that are from the early years of baseball. So the ones that we think of as legends, which is awesome. It is cool to have those people in the game. Do not get me wrong. But then there's like 5 or 6 iterations of that one player. That might be a small exaggeration, but there are multiple cards of just individual players. And I'm sorry, but I started watching baseball in 2006. I can respect the history of baseball, but I do think that we need to diversify the game a bit more with the player choice. Like I said, I've been playing since 2017 and all the way up until this year, and there are players that are in those older games that I would love to see in these newer games. And unfortunately, I don't see them. And I'm a Tigers fan, so there are players such as when the postseason comes around, and they're like, who has had an iconic moment in postseason history? And I'm like, where is Maglio Ordonez? In 2006, he launched the Tigers into the World Series on a walk-off home run. Where is he? So, things like that. Or Kenny Rogers, he was a big player, on the Tigers, but not only in the Tiger system, he was a big player on other teams as well. Carlos Guillen, I was really happy to see Pudge Rodriguez still in the game. One that's not as big, but I would still love to see him, is Brandon Inge. Just a lot of these cool players. Like, there was even a joke for a home run derby, and even though it's a joke, I still think it would be awesome to have him in the game if this is how we get him in. Brandon Inge is like one of the only players, if not the only, where he led the league in home runs going into the home run derby and then didn't get a home run in the home run derby. That's silly, but it would have been kind of a funny plug-in to have him into the game. It's not really disrespect, it's a fact of what it is, but come on. It could have been really cool. Another thing that I'd like to see, so one of the big things that we've had is, all these milestone things. And one player that, is on the Tigers, and his player in the game is guilty of having multiple cards. That is Miguel Cabrera. He had milestone stuff in the past, but he hit one this year, and all of a sudden his card doesn't get a milestone card, but he has all these other ones. So it's interesting to see how they pick and choose how they want to depict the players as for different cards. Another one that I thought would be really cool is Justin Verlander's Triple Crown MVP year. Where is that milestone or award card? He was huge in that year, but yet he's only depicted as a Houston Astro for the most part, except for I think maybe his rookie card is when he's a Tiger. So there's different things there where I think it would be really, really cool to have, different versions, but also be part of other teams. And also just players that they've had in the past, why aren't they in today's game? Victor Martinez was a huge player during his career. He was in 17 and all that. Why isn't he here? I would love to see those players come back, especially since they fit in that the realm of flashback, and that's a huge part of the game. So that's one of my biggest criticisms, is that there really isn't much diversity amongst the players in reference to previous years. Yeah, it's really big for me. It's almost to the point where I would want to play every other year. I actually talked to a friend about this. Like, I got really excited. I played MLB 21 for probably like 3/4 of the MLB season, and I was talking to my friend about it, and I was saying, I was excited for the new game, and I was asking if he was gonna get it, and he said no, he's gonna wait till like a year after. And I at first didn't really understand, like, isn't it gonna be big and exciting every year? But I kind of understand now, like maybe every other year is a better way to go about it, just because you can see maybe more diversified player base that way, just because they introduce a couple of new players every year. But if you do it every other year, you'd have more exciting new people to use on your teams. So that's probably my biggest criticism of the year. Now let's get into the part of the video where probably most of you would be excited to see the most, and that's my tips and tricks. I have 2 of them that are huge, in my opinion, to getting all the cards that you want and to do it effectively without having to sink any money into the game. The first one is, there is an app for the current game, and 21 is also a part of the app if you want to use it for that. But I definitely see them using it moving forward, and that app has been huge for me. Why? Because it has to do with a couple of things. One, you can actually, okay, let me back up. For me, I care about having one of each of the players. Again, I do not stock up on players to watch the market rise and fall or anything like that. All I do is care about that I have one of every player, and that's it. And so in the app, you can go into your inventory and sort by doubles, and then you can go in there and list them on the market straight from your phone. It's super easy. All you gotta do is log in with your information from the game, and you have all your stuff. Not only can you list players on the market, you can buy players on the market. The one small criticism I have is I wish I could quick sell on the app, but you can't, unfortunately, at the moment. So maybe that'll come in the future, but being able to just go right through your doubles, as opposed to going into the game and then finding all your doubles amongst all the teams and the long list of free agents, that has been a huge time saver for me, because I can just go to, probably between finding a player and listing the player, maybe 15 seconds, really quick. So I highly recommend using the app for those instances. It also has, all the up-to-date news. It shows you all the players, like when they make the adjustments to the live series players, you can see all the updates in the app. You can see all the notifications from the market, like if you have a buy order or a sell order, it will notify you in the app what has happened since you last logged into the app, or if you just pull down on it, it'll refresh and tell you what happened since the last time you refreshed the app. So check out the app. It is really cool, and it is a time saver. I can't speak highly enough about it. That is one thing that MLB The Show got right completely since last year, because it came out last year. The market, when you go to buy your cards, fluctuates like crazy. So when a new set comes out, the value of those cards are skyrocketed. Why? Supply and demand. It's simple economics. When there aren't very many of those cards out and people really want them, their prices go way up. Biggest example that I've seen lately is when this game first came out, 2 players specifically, Ohtani and Acuna Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., their live series cards were 200,000 stubs plus for the longest time. Right now, those cards are worth, I think, maybe 20 to 30,000 at most. So basically what I'm saying is, you know, when a card comes out and you really, really want it, if you want it bad enough to spend the amount that they're going for, go for it. If it's something where it's like, you know, I'd like to collect that card at some point, but I don't need it right now, I would wait. Just because those prices will fall. Just have faith in the system. Like I said, just those two cards that I mentioned collapsed completely. I know, like I opened up a pack with Shohei Ohtani and I was like, whoa, I'm gonna get a bunch of stubs, and it was like, JK, no you're not. Just because the market got flooded with Ohtanis. So just make sure, be aware that supply and demand does come into play a lot for the marketplace. And if you're trying to avoid just blowing away your stubs, that's a very, very easy way to avoid doing so, is just wait a little bit longer. If there's cards that are released, you know, during a certain program, and then, you know, the new program comes around, guaranteed the pricing of the cards will fall by the time the next program comes out. So just keep that in mind. It'll help you a lot. And make sure you can be as efficient with your stubs as possible. Here's the last big thing I want to leave you guys with. And I want to tell you guys the strategy that I use, because I see people doing things on the market that make no sense, okay? Absolutely no sense. And I will tell you here right now what it is so you can avoid it. So when you buy and you sell cards, when you sell a card on the marketplace, there is a selling tax. I believe it's like 10% or something like that. So if you list a card on the market for, I think it's like 10,000, and if they take away 10% when you sell it, the buyer buys it for 10,000, but you as the seller, you get about 9,000 in your pocket. Okay, it's not the end of the world. That's annoying, but that's not the point. The point is you have two options when you have cards to sell, pending that you haven't, you know, added them to a collection or something. One, you can put them on the market and sell them for whatever price that you want, or two, you can quick sell your items. Here's the big thing between those two. If you go to sell a card, the minimum, or the lowest price that you can sell your card at is the quick sell price. Here's where it gets different, and this is the defining factor, and I can't stress it enough. If you list a card on the market at the quick sell price, you will get taxed on that value. So if the quick sell value was 100 stubs and you put it on there for 100 and someone buys it, you are going to get 90 stubs. If you quick sell that card, you will get 100 stubs. There is no tax on quick sells. It's insane how people don't recognize that. I see so many of these cards where the lowest buy now price is the quick sell price. And it's like, people don't understand that you as a seller can sell that basically to MLB The Show for an amount and not get taxed on it, or you can put it on the market and get taxed on it and potentially get less money than if you just quick sell it and get your money right away. This is something I learned just because when I first started with MLB The Show, I was the kind of person that didn't want to wait. I did not want to list a card and then see, you know, how many days it takes for it to sell. I always quick sold my cards back in the day. That was like MLB 19. Here's the big difference. When you put a card on Marketplace, especially right now, guaranteed if you list that card for one stub less than the current value, that card will sell very quickly. And if it doesn't, what you can do is you can go in the app and you can cancel your sell order within seconds and relist it for one stub, that's my recommendation. Go one stub less than the current price. If you really, really feel that you want to sell a card for a certain value and that's the value that you need to be satisfied, go for it. But if you want to sell those cards now and get the best value for them, even if it's an extra 100 or 200 stubs that you get to put in your pocket as opposed to quick selling it, do it. Why? Because it adds up. I don't think people realize how many cards they go through in this game, and those little increments of, 10 or 15 stubs or 1 to 200 stubs, that really makes the difference at the end of the day when you're trying to buy and sell these different cards. So the big takeaway here is use the market for buying and selling. When you go to sell, make sure that if you sell it and it tells you how much you're going to get after the tax value, make sure that tax value is higher than the quick sell value. Because if it's not, and you want to sell it right away, just quick sell it. Don't put it on the marketplace and then not get your money for it. One thing on the flip side of that, when you are buying, so if you're going to do a buy order, you can buy, put a price on there of the value of the quick sell. That is fine. Myself, I like to respect the buy or the seller a little bit more, and I put the amount in there where if they were to quick sell it, they would still get the value. So what do I mean by that? Well, if the quick sell value of a gold card is 500, that means I'm going to do a buy order for 556, because if they take the tax out of that, they walk away with the 500. So it's kind of up to you how you want to play that game. I try to respect the seller a little bit more with that. But just know, there are ways for you to be taken advantage of. That's probably a harsh way to say it, but there is a way for you to be taken advantage of when you are selling your hard-earned cards. And you need to be aware of it, because you could be making way more. So when you go to, sell your doubles or cards that you don't want, make sure that you are checking the market and you're checking the value you're going to get. If you don't know what the bare minimum price is, you don't know how to check, if you try to sell a card for one stub, you put a 1 in there and then you hit submit, it'll say, hey, you can't list this any less than this amount. That amount is the quick sell amount. So if you ever want to just test it, put a 1, hit submit, and it will tell you. So keep that in mind. It's kind of a hard concept to wrap your brain around, because it feels like they shouldn't be doing that in the game, but it is very real, and if you know how to avoid it, it'll save you a lot of stubs in the long run. Alright everybody, that about wraps it up for this video. I gave you my thoughts on this year's game, kind of where it has started, where it has grown, and kind of, where I fit with my mindset on how it all played out. Knowing what's happened in previous years. I also gave you 2 of my biggest tips and tricks of how to maneuver the game and be able to, within reason, buy cards and be able to do what you need to complete your sets. I think the only collection I still have left to go is the newest one, which is the finest on the team collection. So it does work. It helps to be able to go through there and complete your collections. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. We haven't had nearly as much MLB content on here as I would like, but maybe in the future we will have that more consistent. It's kind of one of those things that fluctuates in popularity on the channel, but I hope to have more in the future. If you like the video, please drop us a like and drop us a comment letting us know your tips and tricks and even your critiques of the game for this year so far. And then as always everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.